Yeah, so what we would look at is, can we try and attack across the 5 channels? So on the left-hand side, you'll see the wing, the half space, the centre, half space and wing. So you'd see maybe some different words or different phrases, but it's similar aspect. Yeah. When we are fast transitioning, we're looking to try and exploit the biggest amount of space. So sometimes it may not be a forward direct straight pass in behind. It may be a diagonal pass in behind or forward, but it's more diagonal to exploit the fast transition from there. So what that means is, as an example, I was able to go and watch a lot of the first team, Leicester City first team, when they won the Premier League, and it was a very simple idea, and it was basically, once they regained the ball, it was looking for fast transition. So they would have Vardy looking to try and penetrate in behind, centrally or within the half space, but it would also always be the opposite side to where Mahrez was. So Mahrez was told generally not to track back or to recover as deep as the rest of the team. So they defended with 8 players plus the goalkeeper, and they tried to put Mahrez onto a wing situation, into a wing either side. Generally it would be on the right hand side because he was great at coming inside as going on the outside. But so you would look at, to get Vardy would be more central into the opposite half space. So what that did is that automatically stretched the defensive line and created even more space and more gaps between the defensive line, but also in behind. And sometimes it was a case of they would look to try and play the longer pass into Mahrez, because the first threat was to stop the ball going behind the defensive line into Vardy. So Mahrez would be as wide as he possibly can on the wing, but then he would be it would turn from maybe a fast into a progressive, where it's more about the connection from Vardy and Mahrez and how they would work together. But it was, can you get the ball into Mahrez, or can you get the ball to Vardy, was the first thought, and it would depend on what was going on. So that's what fast transition would look like. From a progressive transition, it would be a case of can you try and get yourself across? Can you get players that are moving into the half spaces? So can you get your midfield players breaking lines and trying to play in between the half spaces? Generally, that's where most passes are played. Crosses are now becoming much more like coming from half spaces than wings. The stats are generally now saying that half space crosses are much more valuable, but they're coming from fullbacks, or they're coming from 8s or 10s that are playing in between lines. That's the gaps that you find. So the progressive transition goal against Aston Villa to round it up to make it 4-0 was they played generally in around the half space, and then they had someone within the fifth channel as in the wide area, in the wing channel, who came and crossed the ball in. And then we had somebody moving from the opposite half space coming into the centre to finish off the attack. So
coming into the box.
Coming into the box to try and score the goal. So what was important was that when you do attack, either it's fast or progressive, can you try and cover those 5 areas, or try and recognise the biggest space to try and to play. On the right hand side, you've got the zones. This is a great opportunity we may not talk about too much of this with the players, but it might be something that as coaches that you'd be talking about. But it'll be, can they recognise where it's fast or progressive? So the blue line just helps to give them a bit of an idea roughly where the defensive line would be. And then also recognise that where the opportunities to run, or the spaces they can run into. So sometimes it's a case of, can they run either into the wide areas, can they work into the wider channels, or into the 4 or into the 6 zone, or the 13 or the 15 zone. They're generally the most popular ones to be used. You don't generally see the 5 and the 14 being used for fast transitions, but you do see them being seen a lot for progressive transitions. So they're sort of the key parts. Can you get the ball in there? So zone 14, for anyone who's not aware of it as an area, is the biggest. It's one of the most valuable areas.
Highest success rate, right? If you get the ball into the zone 14, you'll be most successful to score a goal or to create a chance.
Yeah, so scoring opportunities, a lot come from that zone 14. That's why it's highlighted in that area. A little bit into 13 now because of the half spaces and things like that, but generally that's a really valuable area. So progressive transition is, can you get yourself behind the midfield line and in front of the defensive line? Because even now it's
between the lines.
Yeah, who defends that and how they get the ball there. So that just hopefully gives a bit of an understanding around what game understanding and pitch orientation would look like, and how we would teach that across the U12 to U16.